Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you are listening to the sound of my voice, then you know you're tuned in to another episode of Marking Out Amongst Friends, the podcast. It's your boy, Jay Riott in the building. And you know if I'm in the building, I don't never come alone. Also in the building, we got Lady Great One, Miss Curves and Swerves herself. Say hi to the people.
What up, though?
So we got lots and lots of stuff to talk about tonight. Of course, Elimination Chamber. We're going to recap the Chamber, talk about some of our highs and lows and our ratings of that pay-per-view. Also, WWE jumped right into action after the pay-per-view this week, and nobody was a bigger winner this week than NXT. So we're going to spend some time giving NXT a little bit of love, talking about some of the changes and what we think may be going on the road to WrestleMania. But first, before we get into any of that, we're going to hit my damn music.
Marking out. He was marking out, man. 450 off the top with the top splash. Leader of the new school, ain't no way to stop us. Mark it out, screaming loud, tell me who you with. Competition is none, cause we lunatics. Walk with me down these roads if you're all in. I love the feeling, baby, time to go to work again. Come together like a fist and we do it proud. Light it up and burn it down, cause we marking out. He was marking out, man.
All right. We're marking out, man. All right, let's jump right into the business. First and foremost, Elimination Chamber 2019. I can definitely say a very memorable Elimination Chamber, if that's the word that I'm looking for. Very memorable. Of course, we had the first inaugural WWE Women's Tag Team Championships that were on the line. A lot of the other championships in the company were being defended. We'll just go down the list, shall we? Pre-show, Buddy Murphy defeats Akira Tozawa. I personally did not get a chance to tune in time to see this match. Lady Great One, were you able to see this match? Did you see Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa?
I got to catch like the last 5 minutes of it but really that's all I needed to see. I mean, come on now, like usually that's when all the climax happens anyway, in the last few minutes. So, but yeah, it was a solid match overall. Well, from what I saw of it, so I can't really lie and say that I watched the whole thing because I didn't. I got on late.
Okay. So it is the pre-show, so I think both of us can get a little bit of a pass on that. But anyway, Buddy Murphy is victorious. Once again, he remains the Cruiserweight champion. Lady Great One, do you think anybody is ready for Buddy Murphy right now? Do you think anybody can knock him off of this championship run?
Well, they are starting a like round robin tournament style to go to WrestleMania to see who's going to defend it. But my pick is pretty solid, and I think it's a heavy favorite going into this one. Is Buddy Murphy is going to have to take a seat back to his boy Tony Nese because his niece is time to shine, the premier athlete. And I got 8 reasons why. I'm just counting his abs. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you think Tony Nese is next in line to get a shot and to win the WWE Cruiserweight Championship?
I mean, it really only makes sense because, like, he's been on an incredible roll as of late. He really hasn't gotten the shine that some of the other superstars have. We've watched other people get countless opportunities at his title, and he hasn't gotten a single opportunity since being on the show. He's always there. He's always been a workhorse. And, yeah, it's like strike while the iron is hot, now or never.
Absolutely. Now, I can't remember the source right now. Now, I read an article that there was one other cruiserweight that is in the company right now that is not happy with his position and how he's been as of late. And I think that one guy was TJP. I can't think of, once again, the source of this article. But with TJP, we know he was the first ever cruiserweight champion after the cruiserweight tournament. This version of the cruiserweight championship, at least. Let me clear that up. And we haven't really seen him do much since then. Do you think that TJP is in line for a push? Do you think that he has much stock left in the company? Or do you think maybe he should pack it on up and join that club that may go to AEW?
Okay, well, with TJP, as far as he's concerned, I read that same article that you did, or at least one very similar to what you're talking about. And in that, he has zero, I repeat, zero interest as of this moment in time, which I saw this article, that he will be joining AEW. He does not want to leave the WWE. So there's a zero interest there for him to go there. I'll go ahead and get that one out the way because that was a major. Well, that's what he said. He said he had zero interest in it. So I see that with this new, if they're going to do like a territory system where people won't just be on one show, that's going to be better because maybe his talents might be more utilized on a different show, perhaps. Like maybe he'd go and put on a daggone clinic with some of the greats down at NXT, or actually go up to Raw and then put on a match right there against, like, I don't know, anybody in the company because he's just that good. I mean, a submission match between him and possibly Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. I mean, the possibilities are endless for TJP, but I just think that the roster is stacked. I mean, this is the best roster that WWE has had in a really, really, really long time. So they just got to figure out ways to utilize and maximize the talents of all their stars, or they need to start thinning the herd. You got to do something soon.
Okay. I personally, right now, when I look at the roster on 205 Live, there are a lot of names out there that could be in line for the next shot. I mean, we got Araya Davari. Cedric Alexander is still there, which he picked up a big win this week versus Mike Kanellis. Mike Kanellis is another guy who could get a shot in the future. So 205 Live definitely has some names. I would rather personally see Cedric Alexander get a call up and go to a different show rather than to, get another match. Of course, it'd be epic if they do fight again or if they do have another match for the Cruiserweight title. But I really would, if I would take my pick, I'm probably going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Tony Nese as far as the next man in line. Drew Gulak, he's on multiple different shows right now, and I don't think that you would want him as the 205 champion at this point in time. Do I think he's the most deserving? Hell yeah. But I can't say for sure that he would be the perfect fit for the Cruiserweight Championship right now. But other than that, let's move right along, jumping into the main card. That was the pre-show that we discussed with Buddy Murphy. Going into the main card, we'll go into the only non-title match that occurred on the pay-per-view first. No DQ match, Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman. Baron Corbin beats Braun Strowman due to a lot of interference from Bobby Lashley, of all people, and Drew McIntyre. It seems like this could possibly be somewhat of a stable on the arise. Would you buy or sell this as a stable? Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre.
The only way I'm buying this as a stable is if the main trophy is the heavyweight championship and they're or the universal title and they're taking that some bitch off Brock. Otherwise, I could care less. I mean, like, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say I agree.
Oh, okay. But not there's anything wrong with any of the three of them, to be totally honest with you. I mean, you got McIntyre, who I personally think is like incredible, and I'm so glad that he's back. Then you got Bobby Lashley, who's the only person I really wanted him to fight has been Brock Lesnar. And then you got Baron Corbin just kind of floating in between, still trying to figure out where he really and truly belongs. But he needs to get some better wrestling gear. Not that I don't mind him like wrestling in the vest and cummerbund and bow tie and decked out to the nines just to rip half of it off. That's how it seems because his attire is like over. It's 3/4 length shirt, buttoned up, vest, jeans. Like, who's designing this man's ring gear? But anyway, or lack thereof. But yeah, unless they're going for the title, unless the three of them are going to help out Seth Rollins and make sure that Brock Lesnar does not win at WrestleMania, then yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with this.
Yes, I mean, definitely agree. I'm not buying this as a new stable. Hopefully, maybe they're just kind of assisting Baron Corbin in this feud temporarily because all of them kind of have beef with, Braun Strowman. But I definitely don't buy him as a stable. Like you said, for a lot of the same reasons. First of all, Baron Corbin definitely needing to be repackaged again. I think that this whole attire, the gimmick worked when he was the GM, but of course we know he's no longer GM. He's no longer acting GM. He's nowhere near GM. He's nowhere near any type of authoritative figure at this point in time. So why they choose to have him continue to wrestle in, the vest and the shirt and the slacks is beyond me. I mean, he's definitely going to struggle with finding a good image right now just because I don't know if going back to the old image that he had with the long hair is going to work. I don't know if the whole, tank top and, the whole deal is going to work now. I mean, maybe it could, maybe it wouldn't. But I think he needs to go for a whole new attire. Bobby Lashley, of course, he's going to be feuding with Finn Balor. So, I mean, and Drew McIntyre is going to be doing pretty much what Drew McIntyre wants to do, and that's anything the hell he wants to do. Other than that, we see Finn Balor, not Finn Balor, we see once again Braun Strowman was defeated in this match. What do you think that this leaves Braun Strowman going forward? Do you think they are going to run this matchup back at the next pay-per-view at Fastlane? For me personally, I want to say I'm hopefully that they won't. But what do you think? What's going on with this feud? Where do you think they're going to go with this feud?
Well, sorry about that. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties here on my end. But I hope they do not run that match back again. I don't want to see it. They just had a rematch on Raw as well. So I think it's time to shift focus to another story. This one is kind of like beating a dead horse. We're supposed to be getting fresh matchups, and yet we still keep getting Corbin and Strowman, or we still keep getting Finn and Bobby Lashley. Or I mean, come on, how many times are we gonna get the same matches again?
Right, definitely. So I mean, I definitely hope they end this one very soon. At some point, Braun is going to be back in the Universal title picture. He's just too big of a character, too big of a man, a monster among men, actually. And he just doesn't look right unless he's in that division. So I think that they've been trying to kind of occupy him with something probably until after the whole WrestleMania period is over with. But I don't know what else they want to do with him, but this whole Baron Corbin thing is not it. Next match on the card, since we've already mentioned Bobby Lashley. Finn Balor defeats Bobby Lashley to become the new Intercontinental Champion. Defeated Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in a handicap match. Lio Rush eating the pin after a coup de grace. Lady Great One, I believe you called this one.
Hook, line, and sinker. Yes, it did. I knew Leo was there to take the fall because you really don't want to make Bobby Lashley look weak. And not saying that him beating Finn Balor in a 2-on-1 handicap match is him looking weak. It's more like of Leo Rush looking like the fall guy. And that's all I was thinking on that one.
Absolutely. Leo Rush, that guy's got some talent. He's just very, very small. And not that WWE hasn't employed a lot of small characters. Of course, Kalisto is probably around the same size. Ray over the years has gained a little bit of weight, but it's probably around the same height. You had countless other guys that are in that small stature. With Leo Rush, the character just doesn't look intimidating, but the man can do some really talented things in the ring. Do you think Leo Rush has a future on the main roster as a single star?
And depending on where you put him and what you're doing with him. I mean, obviously he has a good shot at the cruiserweight. I mean, that's just a given. And it just really depends on if they're going to use him in that or if they want to do more and keep him going with stuff. But I do see him having maybe a singles title, maybe the United States title, just because of the fact that he's so darn dastardly and slippery that it's hard to catch him.
Yeah, I mean, he's very acrobatic. He's very agile. Probably one of the fastest guys that I've seen in the ring, even amongst the cruiserweights. If we take a step back to my question earlier, thinking who could knock Buddy Murphy off, I wouldn't be mad if Leo Rush was to jump into the pot and have his shot at the Cruiserweight Championship in defeating Buddy Murphy. I think that could definitely be a great match. Once again, it's hard for me to get past that whole stature thing. And, people always say the size doesn't matter, but in certain situations, I mean...
Agree. I see what you were doing there. I got you. But but as far as like him going against Buddy Murphy, no, not really, because like there's nothing behind it. I'm giving all the fuel on that to Tony Nese because at least there's a backstory. You can't stop the unstoppable, the juggernaut, Buddy Murphy being like the biggest thing right there, and like Tony Nese, like supposed to be the premier athlete, he's kind of been like an afterthought. Especially when it comes to the title match, and they're like supposed to be boys and stuff like that. Well, who can, if nobody can stop him, like why not your boy? So it just makes more sense at this moment to have Tony Nese be the one to take out Buddy Murphy, not Leo Rush. Nothing against Leo Rush, he is a future champion, but in this situation right now, no, not yet.
Okay. Finn Balor being the new Intercontinental Champion, achieving his second taste of main roster gold. Of course, he was the first official Universal Champion at the debut of that title. Do you think that we will see Finn Balor do anything similar to what Seth Rollins did as far as elevating that title? Or do you think that he's probably holding this in place for someone else to come and take it?
He's holding it in place for him and the title to go to SmackDown and take the United States back to Raw. I'm thinking he should end up, in other words, making that flip-flop over, carrying the belt with him, having a little bit of Miz action, take the title with you, switch the shows up, switch the titles up. Definitely, he might have this title for a minute, and yes, it will be a very Seth Rollins style, unless they're really going to push Ricochet. That'd be my only question on that one.
Interesting. I'm going to hold off my comment on that one till a little bit later on the show. We'll swing right back around to that one. Other than that, next match on the card, the Usos defeated Miz and Shane McMahon to win the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships for what seems like the 25th time. The Usos, I don't know if anybody can do anything with them right now other than, possibly the New Day. But I think they're pretty much SmackDown. I think they're the cream of the crop. Do you think that this is a surprise? A lot of people were expecting them to face a lot of backlash from the whole situation of, the run-in with law enforcement last week. Was it a shock to you that the Usos won the titles again?
Not really. Because look at it, and if you're up here, you're trying to refocus and rebuild your Raw brand, then why, in their tag division, then why are you going to give it to anything less than the best on SmackDown? You know what I mean? It would be like unbalanced and fair for Miz and Shane, another, once again, thrown together tag team, and take it away from tag teams who actually came up together as a tag team. So, no, it does not come as a surprise. They needed to make this move.
I think it did come somewhat as a surprise to me, just because of the whole run-in with law enforcement last week. WWE, especially with the Shane McMahon being involved in this match as well, and the whole run-in with the law last week, it would just seem like, that they wouldn't have persevered. But now that they do have the titles, it makes me wonder what the plans are for the SmackDown Live tag team titles going down the road to WrestleMania, if they even will be on the WrestleMania card, or if those titles will be on the WrestleMania card. It's already been announced, for anybody who may have watched SmackDown earlier this week, that they are getting their rematch at Fastlane. So we are going to have to sit through this match one more time. For me personally, when I watched this match, it was somewhat of a snooze. I think the only shocking thing that happened in the match, other than the Usos actually winning, did you peep Us kicking out of the skull-crushing finale? That was what kind of surprised me into that match. It's very rare that you see a tag team star kick out of a finisher from a mid-card / main eventer. Yep.
I saw that. I was like, wow. When I saw him hit that skull crusher finale, I thought it was done. But it almost seemed like he kind of washed it off. And then he got hype as hell after that, too. It was just kind of like, you just flipped the switch and he just became a completely different Uso, kind of like they pulled a little twin magic like the Bellas used to do. You think it was one that you were pinning, but it was actually the other one. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, he kicked out, and not only did he kick out, he rolled him up. So it's like the Miz hits the skull-crushing finale and gets rolled up after his skull-crushing finale and loses the titles, and then proceeds to blame himself for the loss afterwards. That finish seemed a little bit awkward to me, but once again, it's very shocking to see a tag team superstar kick out of a single-star finisher in that instance. But as far as what they're going to do, I mean, right now, since we already know that they're going to be going at it again at Fastlane, well, I guess we'll have to wait till then to see what the future of the SmackDown Live Tag Team Division and the Tag Team Champions are going to be. Next match on the card, the first of 2 Elimination Chambers. Well, first, before we get into the chambers, I want to say both of the chambers last because I thought that both of the chambers were really good matches. Ronda Rousey defeated Ruby Riott via submission, a very short match, 1 minute and 40 seconds. It was a squash. Not really much to talk about. I was very disappointed. You know me. You know that I really am very high on Ruby Riott. I was at least hoping for 5 minutes, maybe a little back and forth. I don't think Ruby Riott got any offense in this match.
Other than straight out the gate, not really.
So is this more so to them making Ronda look strong? Or is this to the point where them thinking that they may not be ready to go with a top-tier Ruby Riott, a top-heel Ruby Riott?
Neither, actually. I think that they ran short on time. I think that they wanted to go ahead and cut this match because really they were all wanted the man. So that's where they gave most of that spot to, was like Charlotte and Ronda and Becky. Because Really, that's what it was going to boil down to anyway. So this was just kind of like, okay, let's hurry up. Let's get this over with. Not saying that there's anything negative in pushing Ruby as a top heel or taking anything away at all from like the ability there. It's just that they've got other focuses. So it was kind of like, okay, let's cut this as short as possible and go on and get to the meat. We're building towards where we're finally going to get that main event.
Okay. To me, I think that it kind of made Ruby Riott look very weak. I think that Ronda Rousey has kind of been bullying and bulldozing through the Riott Squad as if they're nothing, as if they are jobbers almost. And we've seen in the last couple of months Ronda Rousey face almost every member of the Four Horsewomen, and we've gotten a match out of it. We've even gotten a match out of Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax. But in this situation, we saw her beat two members of the Riott Squad back-to-back on a Monday night about 2 weeks ago. And then at this pay-per-view, she runs through Ruby Riott like she's nothing. And the only reason we got a match out of that on Monday night when those two went at it is to sell the injuries from Becky Lynch and her crutches attack that she had. So, I mean, for me, I think that it's very much so making Ruby Riott look very weak. And for someone who has as much upside as Ruby Riott, I think that it's very damaging to her character to do something in that manner. You know, now I'm all for, a good squash now and then. And I know, when it comes to heels, that's what happens. Heels lose, from time to time. But, in this situation, I don't like the way that it made Ruby Riott look. And I'm not one to really spend a lot of time on who looks good, who doesn't, who looks strong, who doesn't in this situation. But, I think that really kind of, for lack of a better term, it really shat on Ruby Riott on that.
Well, what I'm thinking is you need to do one of two things here. You obviously have Ronda, the baddest woman on the planet. Of course, she's going to be squashing people left and right.
Mm-hmm.
So really, no WWE woman logically would be able to beat her besides somebody that she's fought in the past before on a regular show that mattered. Would be like realistically Sonya Deville. I'm just talking straight realistically, not storyline, script, anything. I'm talking about one-to-one, hand-to-hand MMA style combat. Sonya Deville might actually be able to hang with her. Will she actually beat her? I don't know, but she would definitely at least hang. So I can't really say that it's looking bad to Ruby on this per se, but if I remember correctly, at a Super Showdown, Ronda and Ruby had already fought.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like this was her first and only opportunity. She's had three matches against her. So it's not really making her look bad. It's just that either another show change needs to happen, and maybe I'm not really buying into the whole Riott Squad trio.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ruby Riott and I love Liv Morgan and I love Sarah Logan, but them as a trio is still there's something about it. Maybe one of them needs like gold or something. There's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
To really assert their dominance. Maybe, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it right now, but there's just something missing there with the Riott Squad. Not that I don't like them. Don't get me wrong, because I do.
I think I know what's missing there, and it's exactly one of the words that you used in that sentence. What they lack is definitely dominance. For this to be one of the longest standing trios in the past year or so, especially in the women's division, they've really only dominated and looked strong going against Natalya. Other than that, they really haven't made much of a mark as a trio. It's just, Ruby Riott and her lackeys. And it really, when you look at somebody, especially somebody like Sarah Logan can go. She's big.
I think that's where it is. That's exactly where it is. You just hit the nail on the head. It should be Ruby and Sarah doing the stuff together. Because if it had been Ruby and Sarah in Elimination Chamber instead of having Liv in there, I think, no offense to Liv Morgan, but she's kind of the weak link of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were doing more with just Ruby and Sarah, then it might actually be a little bit more convincing in the domineering factor of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, and like you said, no disrespect to Liv. I think Liv has definitely got some promise. She's got some agility. She's definitely talented. But she doesn't strike me as somebody who's going to be a force in the women's division. And like you said, I mean, when you look at Sarah Logan and you look at Ruby Riott, you see a lot more promise in those two stars than you do in Liv Morgan. And it just doesn't fit. Even with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, as much shit as I talk about Mandy Rose has been showing a lot of talent in the ring. She definitely connects very well on that knee, that running knee, and her finisher is one that it seems like she can hit just about on anybody. Mandy Rose doesn't look that strong, but she is catching people. For lack of a better word, I can't remember what she calls it, but I'm just going to call it the Faith Breaker because it was the Faith Breaker before it was her finisher. Yeah, I don't know.
No. It is not the Faith Breaker. The Faith Breaker is the same thing as a Styles Clash. This is Christopher Daniels' Fallen Angel finisher, or Angel Wings, or something like that. But this is not the Faith Breaker. Faith Breaker and the Style Clash was the same thing. This is the move that Karma used when she was on WWE.
I think that Michelle McCool used this one too. I am going to research this one in a little bit. But yeah, I think Michelle McCool might have done that. It may not have been called the Faith Breaker. But I think she did it because there was an article that I read earlier this week saying that they're surprised that Mandy Rose is using the move because when Michelle McCool was using it, the move actually was banned, and she said she was told that it was too devastating for the women's division when she was using it. But
you also got to think it was too bad for the Divas division. It wasn't too bad for the women's revolution.
Aha.
I
see what you did there.
Moving right along. Women's.
Absolutely. So
Elimination.
Go ahead, jump into it. I'm going to let you lead this one because I always like to hear you lead the women categories. You talk with so much passion.
Yes, of course I have a lot of passion for it. I mean, obviously, God made us beautiful beings all together, and of course, got to talk about us and all of our loveliness, or a bad attitude, whichever way.
Speak on that, definitely. Jay Riddy in the building definitely loves the ladies, and not just for one reason. If you guys are listening, I love you guys for your talents.
Mm-hmm. And you're just gonna keep it at that.
I'm just
talent.
I'm just gonna leave that comment right there. Take it how y'all want
just
to.
Drop it there and walk away. Just drop it and walk away. Anyway, so in this matchup we had Nia Jax and Tamina versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville versus the Iconics versus Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan of the Riott Squad versus Carmella and Naomi, and finally versus the Boston Hug Connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks. Really, as much as I had wanted some of the other teams to possibly win this, I thought for sure it would be like, okay, well, maybe Tamina and I are going to win it so Tamina can finally get her first taste of gold. Or maybe that Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville would actually take this one, because once again, like you want to get something new, Fire and Desire, they've been hitting on all cylinders lately. But of course, it's going to go to the team that originally advocated for it, the team who, in a lot of people's eyes, is the most deserving of it. And it wouldn't even be here without the Boston Hood connection in the first place of Sasha and Bayley. So, all in all, it was a really, really, really great feud. Really good match. They went the entire distance. Did Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and Bayley and Sasha. They were in there. They started the match. They ended the match. That was incredible. Mandy and Sonya look really, really, really good together. I mean, everybody got a chance to have their moments. I hated that Carmella and Naomi got eliminated first very, very, very quickly in that match, but we're just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to say any of the other outside rumors and interferences and things like that. Maybe this was their punishment. Unsure. But, hey, who knows? But we all know they got eliminated first. And for everybody in that one spot where Nia ran through and busted the pod and knocked herself out, and then the entire field all jumped on Tamina to pin her. That was a cool spot. That was a really, really, really cool spot. I got to say that. So, what were your thoughts on this match? Like, how did you like it? What do you think about the outcome?
I was happy with the match. I thought it was some good spots. As far as I wasn't happy with the Tamina and Nia Jax being eliminated, but how they were eliminated was very creative. Nia Jax definitely didn't eat the pin. Another thing, before I even get into describing everything that I loved about the match, I just want to shout out Nia Jax really quick, because Nia Jax is not afraid to take some dangerous bumps that a lot of other women on the roster are not taking. Not to say that there are some that wouldn't take them, but Nia taking the full speed, shoulder tackle into the pod and being put out for the rest of the match was just phenomenal. Especially, it goes back to what we said before. She's not like most girls. But with taking the RKO in the Women's Royal Rumble, even competing in the Men's Royal Rumble period after, rather than just taking the RKO. I just want to praise Nia Jax for going out there and not being afraid to do things like that. Especially when she gets a lot of flack for hurting other people. I mean, you can tell that she's definitely not afraid to put her own body on the line.
Definite props for that. I gotta agree with you there. I mean, definitely got to give Nia her props there. So I will say that I really envy Nia Jax, because she's getting these incredible moments that not too many women have actually had the opportunity to do. So much props, Nia Jax.
Absolutely. Now, other than that moment, like I said, I think that there were some really good spots in the match. I think that Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose definitely showed off. Even the Iconics made their mark. I hated that, Carmella and Naomi got the quick elimination. I hated more so that Naomi had to, eat the double pin in that situation, which the pin itself was very, unique. I don't think that I've ever seen a pin like that before from the Iconics. But, other than that, I loved it. And the fact that Bayley and Sasha are the ones who walk out victorious, I think now you know that you have something that'll be easy to build around on the road to WrestleMania. Fast forward to Monday night, Tamina and Nia Jax are already staking claims to try to take these titles from the Boss Hug Connection. So even though they didn't get it at Elimination Chamber to be the first champions, we may be in line to see the Samoan sisters take on the Boss Hug Connection and actually come away with the titles in the future. But for me personally, if I'm going to give a rating to this match alone. I don't really want to rate the whole pay-per-view because I thought the pay-per-view was very short. It even ended earlier than I thought that it would have as the pay-per-view, but that's neither here nor there. If I'm going to rate this match, I'm going to say out of a 5, I'm going to give it about a 3.5.
Well, on this match for me, I already talked about some of my favorite spots in it. Overall, for it to be the second ever Elimination Chamber that the women have participated in, they have done really, really, really good job. Like everything that they've done, I think they're getting better and better each opportunity that they have. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 on the actual Elimination Chamber match itself. So great job, ladies. Yes, of course, there's a couple things that I could change in there, but of course, nobody's ever going to be happy 100% with everything. This is wrestling. Are you serious?
Wrestling?
Serious?
Wrestling satisfied?
Exactly. So, yeah, they earned that 4. They earned it.
Damn straight. And then finally, the last match on the card, the match that I couldn't wait to talk about, and you know why I couldn't wait to talk about. It's the thing that both of us have been waiting to talk about. The Elimination Chamber for the WWE Championship. Competitors champion Daniel Bryan, defended his title against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, and the one and only Kofi Kingston. Now, Kofi Kingston, we talked a lot about him last week, how he was riding his momentum from that gauntlet match coming into the pay-per-view, and wondering, hey, is Kofi going to get to shine? Is Kofi going to get to do anything in the Elimination Chamber? Kofi not only shines in the Elimination Chamber, but he makes it to the final 2. And I think that him and Daniel Bryan fought for a good, 15 minutes maybe by themselves as the sole survivors, or as the last 2 in this match?
Yeah, it was a good 15 minutes, at least. It had to have been a good 15 minutes that they were in there together by themselves, and it was great. I mean, Kofi put on a hell of a performance in that match.
Yeah, we saw a lot of aggression, and I don't mean to just focus in on Kofi, but it's hard to not focus in on Kofi. Eliminating Randy Orton, kind of getting his, just desserts, getting back at the whole, stupid comment years ago, and a lot of fan speculation saying that Randy Orton is the reason why Kofi didn't get his push from years ago. For me personally, Kofi just, I would go and say Kofi stole the show. I saw a lot of aggression when he was slamming Daniel Bryan's head into the cage repeatedly. You saw him climb to the top of the pod multiple times. You saw him kick out of the running knee. Daniel Bryan hit his finisher, and Kofi Kingston kicked out of the running knee. Daniel Bryan also tried to lock in the LeBell Lock. I don't know if he got the LeBell Lock in successfully, but Kofi Kingston was able to get out of the LeBell Lock. So it was a lot in this match that just made you think, man, Kofi Kingston really had a lot of people. And I saw, in the group on the Game Runs, a lot of people were saying this is the first time in years that they were that much emotionally invested into a match in WWE. How did you feel about this match, first and foremost?
I mean, think about it this way. Going in to last Monday night, or should I say, let me just take it back a little bit further. Not this past Tuesday, but Tuesday before last, a couple weeks ago, right before of Valentine's Day. Not that one, but the one right before it. Sorry, I'm trying to get my timeline straight here. Going into this match, it was Mustafa Ali in that spot. It was Mustafa Ali versus Samoa Joe versus Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton versus AJ Styles versus the new Daniel Bryan. Sorry, had to throw that out there because you didn't say it before. The new Daniel Bryan.
Not the old Daniel Bryan, the new Daniel Bryan.
No, not the Yes Man, not the Team Hell No Man. This is the new Captain America vegan approved Daniel Bryan. Okay, anyway. But going into that, we were having Mustafa Ali in that spot. Then the next week came, and Monday night comes, we're still getting Mustafa Ali. Turns out that he's not medically cleared to wrestle thanks to Randy Orton. That's funny. Randy Orton, two people in common. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, then we get Kofi, who gets the call. He finds out 45 minutes before the match. Ends up going an hour in the gauntlet. Then, after that incredible performance that he put on there, then to finally get into the chamber and put on yet another dominating performance. I mean, like, everybody that I know personally, people who watch wrestling but don't really watch wrestling, who don't really follow wrestling like the way that me and you do, the same passion that we have, these people were emotionally invested because finally somebody who deserves this time to shine is getting that look. I know so many people who, like I said, don't really follow it. They were excited. They're like, man, did you hear about Kofi Kingston? Wow, what a performance he put on. I've seen so many people getting behind Kofi, and I think that the time is now. You got to give Kofi this title. He's done way too much for way too long, and he's earned it. He really has earned it. But for what I say about the match, hell, the whole damn thing to me, that chamber match by itself was a 5 out of 5. Absolutely, yeah, 5-star match.
I'm gonna definitely give that match a 5-star match just off of raw emotion alone, and you know, like I said, for a lot of people to be that invested, you can definitely tell a lot of people were behind Kofi. Now, there's a lot of things that I would definitely want to state. There's some obvious reason about there. Of course, a lot of African American fans that are watching, they were probably emotionally invested because we haven't seen a black WWE champion in WWE in our lifetimes, other than The Rock, you know. And The Rock, you know, we more so put him in the class of Samoan than we do black superstar, so to speak. They kind of give him the Obama treatment a little bit. I don't like it when it comes to either one of them, but, I mean, you know, it's all about representation. You know, the Latinos have...
I'm sorry, I was going to say we had it with Booker and we had it with Mark Henry. So those are the only
champions.
And this is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
They cut the World Heavyweight part off. It's back to the WWE Championship.
I thought it was WWE Heavyweight Championship.
They cut the World Heavyweight part off.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, we did have those two, at least for a higher. I'm agreeing with you, but you know.
But yeah, I mean, you know, it's all about representation, and you know, I definitely will not take anything away from either one of those guys. Mark Henry is definitely one of my favorite superstars, as well as Booker T is probably one of the most legendary WCW and WWE stars that have, you know, had the pleasure of working in either company. But I think that it's been a long time since a lot of kids, like, I don't think when you name Mark Henry and you name Booker T, I think about my nephew who's 10, who I took him to a live show last year to see his first show. He's a young African-American kid. I don't think in his lifetime he's seen a black champion when looking at WWE as far as a main eventer goes. And then you think about Kofi Kingston. Now, Kofi Kingston has been in the WWE for 11 years. multi-time tag champion. Even before winning the tag team titles with the New Day, he was a tag team champion with Evan Bourne and Air Boom. He was also, if I remember correctly, and I'll have to go back and check, I believe that he was the one-time tag team champion with CM Punk as well.
And also a one-time champion with R-Truth. It was Evan Bourne, R-Truth, and CM Punk. All three.
Absolutely. So Kofi's got a lot of tag team titles, multiple U.S. championships, multiple Intercontinental championships, but he's never seemed to cross over into that main eventer status. And I think that it's good that we saw that when he's been given the spotlight. And, you know, shouts out to Mustafa Ali. We all know this is supposed to be Mustafa Ali's spot that Kofi got in that match and seems to be currently getting now. Unfortunately, Mustafa Ali got injured and wasn't able to fulfill that spot. Get well soon, Mustafa. But we fast forward to Tuesday night. Kofi Kingston, again, after he gets a pin on the champion last week in a gauntlet match, after he last and almost defeats him in the Elimination Chamber, he beats the champion in a 6-man tag match and has announced that he and Daniel Bryan will have a one-on-one match at Fastlane for the WWE Championship. My thing is, and we're going to get on, we're going to ask this same question probably over the next couple of weeks up until Fastlane gets here. Do you think Kofi has a real shot of walking out of Fastlane the WWE champion?
As much as everything in my being and my heart and in the depths of my soul wants Kofi to do this, for some reason, I think that they are not going to do it yet again. Mm-hmm. Something is telling me they're not going to do it yet again. I guess because they want a returning superstar or something to take it over. I've seen some dirt sheets. I don't remember whose, but I've seen a lot of people talking about with the promos that they've been popping for people like Kevin Owens making his return. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel that as much as I really want Kofi to have his title and have his opportunity and his time to shine, I just don't think that they're going to let him go into WrestleMania as that champion.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to agree in this situation. I think there's a lot of emotion behind this whole feud, so to speak. And we're going to see how they kind of build on this feud over the next couple of weeks, or at least two. I think we're about 2 weeks out from Fastlane. I know it's coming up very quickly. So it's interesting to see how they're going to build on this before WrestleMania gets here. But I'm going to have to go with the same, sentiments. As much as I would love to see it happen, with every fiber of my being, I don't think that you take the title off of Daniel Bryan before WrestleMania. Unless this becomes a Mania moment for Kofi, unless we have, another version of the quote-unquote boyhood dream, I don't see Kofi winning this title. I think this is just going to be more so a moral victory for the fans to see, similar to seeing AJ Styles seeing AJ Styles versus Rusev a couple of months ago when Rusev was riding high off of the Rusev Day and he earned a shot at the WWE Championship only to lose come the pay-per-view. I think that you'll see the same thing with Daniel Bryan in this instance, and Kofi. Kofi will get a lot of moral support. I think we'll see a great match where I think that Daniel Bryan will walk away victorious. And then we'll be up in the air. Maybe he gets another shot at WrestleMania. If not, we'll be up in the air on who we get to see face Daniel Bryan going into Mania.
Now, I will say this. Thing. If it had been any other pay-per-view following this current one, if it would have been right before Money in the Bank, or if it would have been the pay-per-view that's right before SummerSlam, I'll give SummerSlam there. Kofi probably would be taking this. But since it's Mania, I really don't think.
Okay. Either way, Kofi definitely shouts out that if he never win the WWE Championship, just know that even though you might not have the every night vocal support from the fanship, you definitely deserve it, and I am definitely going to go out and say that Kofi Kingston is a future WWE Hall of Famer. I think that he's cemented, and whether he wins a world title or not, he's going to be in there. Kofi Kingston is just one of those guys that's just a feel-good story to see him ascend to where he is now compared to where he started off in on ECW. So ECW, when Kofi started, was somewhat like, it was starting to turn into like how NXT is now. You see a lot of guys, a lot of newcomers come in through ECW and then get pipelined into, SmackDown or Raw. Speaking of NXT has probably been, other than Kofi Kingston, the biggest winners this week. So why do I want to say that NXT won the biggest out of everyone this week? One simple reason. Main roster debuts, baby. So this week, in an effort to boost engagement and to keep up with the element of surprise, Triple H announces that he called up 4 NXT superstars. One that Lady Great One mentioned earlier in the show, and Ricochet. Also, the master of the Black Mass, who makes people fade to black on a regular basis, Aleister Black, as well as the heel version of DIY, the current NXT champion, and the not current anymore, but at the time, current North American champion, and Johnny Gargano. Now, these guys competed in a match apiece on Raw and a match apiece on SmackDown and went undefeated throughout the whole time. If that's not impressive enough, they defeated a few world champions in that time frame. Bobby Lashley. They defeated the current tag team champions in the Revival. They defeated former tag team champions in the Bar. They defeated Elias. And I think I'm missing one guy that got defeated in this situation. Eli Dolo and Ricochet had a hell of a match on Tuesday. So we got to see NXT kind of come up and not only show the main roster what they were made of, but show up the main roster.
Stop. Okay, you did something backwards there. You done already messed up the matches. I got to come back and correct you. It was not Ricochet versus Andrade. It was Aleister Black versus Andrade.
I messed that up. I did.
In a rematch. Yeah, that's why I was like, hey, I gotta correct you. I just gotta do it. I'm sorry. You can't be messing up my boy. He already lost the match. But and then you go mess up my boy. So okay.
I mean, but it was a good back and forth match. He didn't lose as far as I don't think that it knocked him down to lose that match.
No, it didn't knock him down at all. It did not knock him down one notch. I actually think that the person who was really going through the motions of that one was Zelina Vega on the outside. I really think that she was the one who was really going through the roller coaster of emotion at that moment. Your business partner and your husband,
Absolutely. So. Speaking of Andrade, it was rumored in an article that I read this week that Andrade and Charlotte Flair are now a thing. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm just saying, she's got great taste. That's all I got to say there. She's got great taste. Great taste. Yes. Okay, continue.
Absolutely. But other than that, NXT not only took a big win this week by going undefeated with a whopping 8-0 versus the main roster this week, NXT also crowned it. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Don't forget, Ricochet fought Eric Young of Sanity. And this is the first television appearance for Sanity in quite some time.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely shout out to Sanity, another NXT alum stable there. I really wish they would do more with Sanity. It's too much talent in that trio for them not to be doing anything with them. Same goes for Nikki Cross. Too much talent there for them not to be doing anything with her as well. But another reason that I would say that NXT was a big winner this week, not only going undefeated over the main roster, but we crowned a new champion on NXT this week. Both of our favorites, and anybody who watches NXT, this guy is probably one of your favorites as well. Finally, the Velveteen Dream captured gold. His first singles title on NXT. The Dream becomes the new NXT North American champion, defeats Johnny Gargano to get his first run. How do you feel about the Dream becoming the new NXT champion? I know a lot of us had high aspirations for him being the NXT champion, but hell, gold is gold.
Gold is gold, and the Dream is on, baby. The Dream is on. We are in the Dream experience. I actually watched that match right before today's show. I went back. I had to rewatch it again just because it's a moment that I had been waiting for. This man has such promise. He is the future. And he said, forget just the NXT. I'm going for the one that captures all of North America. I'm going after the neck. I'm going after Johnny Wrestling. I'm going after Johnny Takeover. I'm going after Johnny Gargano, who is by far one of the biggest people who have been inside of NXT. And to take it from him, I think that meant just a little bit more than it would be for him to have captured it from Tommaso Ciampa. So
Absolutely.
I think that
I definitely agree with that.
I think that was such a smart move. You're going to go for a title, might as well go for one that hasn't been held by very many people. So it's a very elite group of people who have held that title. And Velveteen Dream is the current North American champion.
Damn straight. Damn straight. And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the level of competitor that he beat for the North American Championship. Johnny Gargano is pretty much the life, the heartbeat, the soul, everything NXT for at least the last year and a half of being there. Multiple times he lost matches to Ciampa that at one point would supposedly lead to him leaving NXT and going to the main roster, only for him to be brought back. Widely known as probably the best technical wrestler in NXT. He was pretty much known as NXT's very own version of Daniel Bryan. So there's a lot of prestige, even off that short reign that he had, that gets passed on to the Dream. And I think the Velveteen Dream is going to do nothing but build on more prestige for this title. It makes me wonder what they're going to do with the NXT title in this picture. Who are they going to have to force Ciampa to drop it to before he leaves for the main roster for good? But the Dream is going to make this title. Similar to how Shawn Michaels made the Intercontinental title, the premier title in the 90s, I think that's what you're going to get from Dream in the NAC here.
Oh, and you cannot forget what the Miz has done for the Intercontinental Championship as well. You got to give mad props to the Miz because he made that title must see. And then look who had it afterwards. I mean, look at what has happened with the Intercontinental Championship afterwards. It had been held as the highest one since Brock was sitting at home on his couch with his hunting and fishing magazine, looking at old UFC fights and remember his glory days, while Miz and Seth and Roman and Dean and Bobby Lashley have held, and now Finn Balor currently holds the Intercontinental Championship. Miz made that one must see, just like the Dream is going to make this one must see.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that all of those are former world champions or universal champions that you named going down that list of people who have won the Intercontinental title since the Miz last held it. So that is exactly what mid-card titles are supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a consolation prize. This is supposed to be the second biggest prize on the show after the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship. And we see that a lot with the Intercontinental title. Once again, I think we'll see it a lot with Dream. We don't see it much with the U.S. title. The U.S. title just seems to kind of be getting passed around until we figure out what the hell we want to do. I mean, for God's sakes, R-Truth is the champion right now. R-Truth hadn't been on television other than dance breaks in a very long time. No disrespect to R-Truth. He's a legend.
No disrespect.
Go ahead.
As you said, the WWE Championship is actually.
I think we can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. I got a lot of interference going on. I'm outside. There's a train coming through. There's a big diesel truck that came through. Hold on. I will be back momentarily.
So while we're waiting for a Lady Great One to join us again and get everything together on the sound, while we're on the topic of NXT and the Dream becoming the new NAC, it was announced that the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is going to be occurring in 2 weeks. That was also announced this week on NXT. Right now, 4 teams have been announced. The winner of this tournament is going to get a shot at the War Raiders at the next TakeOver, which will end up being WrestleMania weekend. So far, we have the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, the Street Profits, the Forgotten Sons, as well as Fabian Aichner and Marcel Barthel. So this is going to be starting on March the 6th with this tournament. Me personally, if I'm going to pick a tag team that's been already announced, I'm going to definitely go for the Street Profits. We've seen the Undisputed Era. The Forgotten Sons, they can be forgotten again. Forget about them. Fabian Aichner, Marcel Barthel, get them out of here. Street Profits are the way to go. I don't want it to make it seem like it's a common theme here, tonight as far as celebrating the Dream's title victory and Kofi Kingston hoping that he would become new champion and now going for the Street Profits. It's definitely not me intentionally trying to be racist or showing favoritism in this situation. I'm just picking a lot of guys that I feel like are underutilized and that are supremely over. And when you talk about tag teams who haven't gotten a shot in NXT that are over, you can't pick anybody over the Street Profits right now.
You're right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly.
All right. But yes, you are right. However, I will say this much: since they did announce the Dusty Rhodes Classic, and I'll finish up the rest of my thought on my final thought. But going on, just moving forward on this, you've got some really, really, really strong teams there. I mean, of course, I think the Street Profits are at the top of the list, and they needed to turn up the aggression, and they did, and they have been turning up the aggression. They've been looking really, really good as of late. Yes, they did take a step backwards against the Forgotten Sons, but once again, the Forgotten Sons need to build too. So you got to start somewhere in the building. Now we're actually getting back Red Dragon. It's not Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. It's actually Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. So we didn't get all of Undisputed Era due to the injury. So I really think that when you get the band back together in the right sequence, I think that also makes for a deadly threat, even though, yes, they've already held the titles, but still, when you got the right combination, that makes all the difference. Then you got the newcomers in there of Marcel Barthel and Fabian Aichner. I actually like these guys. I like them two together. I'm not sure if you watch NXT UK as much as I do, but they are pretty entertaining and they mesh really, really well together. B and A. I like that. I like them two together. And then also there's another tag team who came out there to help out, which you did not mention, and it wasn't the Forgotten Sons. It was Oni Lorcan and Diddy Burch, who are also going to be taking on, I forget what the heck, they just named themselves, James Drake and Zach Gibson. I forget the name that they gave themselves now in NXT UK, but I believe that Oni Lorcan and Diddy Burch are the number one contenders for the NXT UK Tag Championships. So you've got a lot of good tag teams there, and this Dusty Rhodes Classic will be very, very good. I think it starts off at 8 and then ends up with 4, and then they do a round robin style tournament. I'm not sure. I missed the last tournament. I forget how they did the last 4. It wasn't a War Games match, but I forget how they did it. Oh yeah, they did do it in War Games, didn't they?
I think War Games was
not this last one. No, not this last one. Not this last War Games. I'm talking about before that. At the Dusty Rhodes Classic, it was AOP and Undisputed Era and somebody else all involved. It was 3 of them in War Game. It was 4 teams. Either way, I can't quite remember, but I'm anxious to see how this tournament is going to go. And I like this tournament. I like it a lot. So, yeah. Let's get it. Let's go NXT. They have been putting on incredible, incredible shows. And I know I'm just rambling on and on and on, but I can't stop singing the praises of NXT and how they've been handling things there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to pretty much wrap up all of our topics this week. We got a lot of stuff to discuss going into the road to WrestleMania, not just Fastlanes, but, all roads ultimately lead to the granddaddy of them all. So right now we're going to jump right into our final thought. Lady Great One, you said you had a final thought ready already, so go ahead and hit them with it.
Well, my final thought was just to go back on what I was trying to say before when I was talking about the elevation of titles. We see it too often as to where people forget about the champion, especially on Raw. When you forget about Brock Lesnar, you have no choice but to elevate your other title. And the United States title hasn't had that same issue, so to speak, or that same pedestal platform, because they've had a fighting champion every single pay-per-view. That is the one title that has been defended each and every time. There's not been a spot where they have not defended the WWE Championship. So the United States title does kind of get lost in a shuffle due to the fact that you've got a fighting champion in Daniel Bryan. You had a fighting champion before that in AJ Styles. So while Brock Lesnar, like I said, has been sitting at home looking at his Hutton and Fishing magazines, trying to figure out what new AR-15 to purchase, then you've had Seth Rollins out here stealing the whole damn show. So much props there to the secondary title holders. And they're not just place fillers. They are all champions, and they have elevated their title as far as the Intercontinental goes. But you can't take anything away from the WWE champion. And I'm sorry that the United States champion does get treated a little bit worse because of the actual defending of that title. And that is my final thought.
Awesome. My final thought in this situation is definitely going to go out to the man. We live in North Carolina, so when you think of wrestling, you think of North Carolina. There's no bigger name than the Nate. Shaboy. The Nature Boy, WWE will be celebrating the Nature Boy's 70th birthday in an upcoming episode of Raw.
Next week in Atlanta.
Ric Flair has been a large part of many generations, and it's almost kind of hard to believe that he's 70 already. Because if Flair is 70, then it starts to make you feel like, well, damn, he's been around my whole life, so now I'm old. You know, just by association in this situation. But Ric Flair has given us decades of being the dirtiest player in the game. He's also given us a lot of the classic promos, a lot of the classic antics, multi-time champion. His character was not only a great character on screen, but he was something that people aspired to be. As far as, you know, especially those who are fans of hip-hop. Many might say that he influenced the hip-hop culture tremendously with his style. So definitely shout out, happy early birthday to the Nature Boy. Woo! Woo! And I hope you enjoy it. I hope we get a good show out of your anniversary on Raw next week. Other than that, it's been a great podcast. Once again, me and Lady Great One holding it down. Hopefully, we're going to get some more guests and some interviews, guys, lined up for you guys in a couple of weeks. But as for tonight, Marking Out Amongst Friends, the podcast is out.
Peace.
And, of course, we're going to hit my damn music. I can't leave the show without hitting my damn music.
He looks like Marking out.
He looks like a fan.
Marking out.
He was marking out, man.
450 off the top with the top. Leader of the new school, ain't no way to stop us. Mark it out, screaming loud, tell me who you with. Competition is none, cause we lunatics. Walk with me down these roads if you're all in. I love the feeling, baby, time to go to work again. Come together like a fist and we do it proud. Light it up and burn it down, cause we marking out now.